My comic shop closed 7 years ago, but along my journey, I've met other stores with colorful communities all their own. One of those is Acme Comics in Greensboro, North Carolina, owned by Jermaine Exum, aka the enigmatic Lord Retail. Now, I am speaking with the man himself in the definitive Lord Retail interview series. This is Volume 2 of Their Comic Shop History. Welcome to the Once and Future Lord Retail, a My Comic Shop History trilogy event. Joining me for the finale of our three-parter, once again, is the owner of Acme Comics in Greensboro, North Carolina, Lord Retail himself, Jermaine Exum. Welcome back.
Hey, I feel like I never left.
But it's been weeks. We've been recording these essentially in real time, not the original plan. We were going to bank them up and release them over the fall. We ended up doing them essentially in real time, which I think is fun. It's added a new, timelier element to it. I like it.
The passage of time in the world of comic book retailing is so odd. You know, I tell people if I have, just to pull something out of the air, a stack of 12 Star Wars comics, which is insubstantial, 12 comic books, that's 1 year of life. Like quantifiably, that's 1 year of life in our world. You know, in this world, the weeks pass really quickly. You know, I blink and it's Tuesday again. I blink and it's Wednesday again. Because the days just go by really, really fast, with each day having its own flavor around here.
I can definitely appreciate that. Well, listen, speaking of this idea of time and the passage of time and timeliness, I want to bring up something. So I know the audience can't see this, but I'm holding up here a copy of the Death of Superman 30th anniversary special. Now, I talked in the last episode about how I ordered this through Lord Retail and Acme Comics because I wanted to know that I was getting it. I was going to get it when I needed it. And things didn't work out.
Did you get it?
Things didn't work out quite as planned. It was actually, and I want to tell this story. I think this will be fun and entertaining, hopefully.
Oh no, I don't know what this story is. Oh no.
Well, where to start? You know what? Let me just say this. The copy that I am holding up, this came to me actually as a gift from a fellow retailer, Sean Hendricks of Fat Moose Comics. Now, I said in the last episode that I have my local shop that I get my regular books from. With this, I kind of wanted to, support a few different stores. So I ordered the 30th anniversary special from you. I asked Sean to pull the hardcover that was coming out, and I was very surprised that this came in the mail from Sean Hendricks just out of the blue, and it ended up being clutch because the copies that I had ordered from you, I don't have them yet.
Oh no. And I'm hoping it's on its way soon. I'm hoping that, tomorrow morning it'll be there. I really hope so. Because I think yours went out. We put books out on Wednesdays here, not Tuesday, the way DC arbitrarily, says. So your stuff would have gone out on Thursday. So
see, I attribute this. I think this was. I mean, it's funny because I didn't want to hound you on this because I know how busy things can be on those new release days now, I suppose. And I've been trained all those years with Steve Odo. I try to have a very light touch when it comes to reaching out on those days. So I didn't want to bother you, but I think I guess I had sort of a misconception about when this was going to be going out because the reason why this is timely for the audience here. So, we'll pull back the curtain. We are recording this on Sunday, November 13th. People will hopefully be listening to this Wednesday, November 16th. In the middle of that time frame, tomorrow, Monday, November 14th, I'm recording an episode of Digging for Kryptonite all about that 30th anniversary special that I'm going to be releasing on Tuesday, the 15th. Now, I'm
already confused.
It's like time travel. No.
Back to the Future.
So anyway, I needed to get this book really kind of by today so that I could read it in advance of the recording tomorrow night. And I knew when I ordered this from you, through mail order, I knew I was running somewhat of a risk, but I figured, well, if it goes out, and I was assuming it would go out that Tuesday, maybe Wednesday at the latest after you unpacked it. So I figured
we can't sell, we can sell on Tuesday, according to DC, we can sell, but we hold everything till that Wednesday. That's when everything is for sale, including mail order stuff. That's just part of the process. But by all means, always hound me. Anybody that has my, direct contact info the way that you do, please use it all the time. All the time.
No, and again, I have a smile on my face as I'm telling this story, and it all worked out, and it's all fine. And I could have gone to my local shop, I could have bought it digitally if it really came down to it, and I needed it. So it's all good. But it's just funny because I'm scrolling back through our texts, and on Tuesday at noon or 12:30, you texted me a photo as you were unpacking them, and you said they're here, and I said yes, can't wait. Now, again, I made an assumption. I was like, oh, okay, they'll probably be going out very shortly, not realizing that it wouldn't be until Thursday. Now, I learned that on Thursday when you texted me again, or actually I texted you to confirm this recording, and you said also, we are ready whenever you are to send the Supermans so you can check into those. And at that moment,
I meant as far as like ready for your payment, I like to check in and verify before we, charge anybody for stuff. That's kind of what that was.
Well, that's the other thing I said a couple of times, like, let me know how much and where to pay you. So I still haven't paid you. The money, I'm good for it. I'll pay you.
I know.
However and wherever I can get it to you, that's fine. But it was just, I remember I had just picked up my son from preschool, and we had this text exchange, and we said, like, they're ready to go out. I said, oh no, my plan fell apart. But
I think that was going to be a close one anyway. Sometimes mail order stuff, it's there somehow like the next day, no matter where it goes. And other times it's in the wind for a minute. It's just, it's weird sometimes, but I'm glad that Sean came through. So you're able to utilize this item, did you get to read it yet?
No, that's my homework for after we record tonight. So I'll be reading it tonight in advance of tomorrow.
Wonderful. I want to know what you think about this book, so I'll be listening.
I'm very excited. And again, it's just, the whole thing made me laugh. And again, it's no big deal. And again, I will happily receive the package from Acme that's coming. We'll get you the money. And I appreciate you shipping those out for me. And again, Sean already had his spotlight episodes, but I do have to, that really, I have to say, I sent him a voice message. I was like, you don't know how clutch this was. Because it was that day or the day after, maybe I can't remember now. It's all blurring together. I think it was that very day, because I was already being like, all right, I can go here, I can do this, I can do that, and then it just shows up in the mail. This Sean Hendricks, what is it? Not the hero I deserve, but the hero I needed in that moment.
There you go. That's because I assume that he didn't know anything about any sort of arrangement at all, but he just knew to take action. He just knew, even if it was like going to be a duplicate copy for you, he just knew.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
so, thank you, Sean.
Yeah. Sean was clutch, and now I have a better understanding of the Acme mail order process. And I'm sure I will use it again at some point to the extent that I even buy stuff. I know we talked about this last time, especially now with the whole reading 30 days later on the DC app and all of that. I don't know how much physical purchasing I will be doing, but Acme, of course, remains a top option in my book.
Topically, please let me know if there's like a super urgency on it. I would have popped it in. I would have made an exception and guided the mail that Tuesday. But again, the whole entirety of a Tuesday, it's a lot. So you're kind of brain dead by the end of the day.
No, I understand. And look, I take responsibility too. I mean, I didn't make it clear to you that there was such a time crunch on this. I made an assumption, and I think we both were thinking the other one was on the same page, and we weren't. So, but it all worked out, and it's all good. What has since we are, again, this 30th anniversary special just came out. Everyone knows what a big deal that story is for me. And I know for you as well. And we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of the death of Superman. What has the reaction to that special been since it came out among your community?
Here's the issue with that issue. And, in all of our promotions, the weekly email that goes out where we spotlight things, our website where we'll, add annotations to the new releases. We don't just offer up a cut and paste of like the diamond releases, including item codes. I've never liked that. I've always liked to make you have to take the data and make it something that the consumer can consume. Item codes and like regional restrictions and just like a raw cut and paste. I don't like that. So it takes time It takes a lot of time for us to generate our presentation of what's coming out this week. But I don't know where people are getting this from, but almost everyone was convinced that this thing was a reprint. I don't know where they're getting that from, but to a person, they all thought it was a reprint. So I had to say, this is not a reprint. This is all new material, cover to cover. Everything is new. New cover, new pinups. Every story in this is new. They've reunited the creative teams from Action Comics, Adventures of Superman, Man of Steel, Superman, the entire active creative teams from Louise Simonson, John Bogdanove. Everybody's back to tell new stories. What was happening during the battle? What was happening immediately after the battle? It's the strangest thing. There's been reprints before. One person said that I guess they felt some sort of anniversary book was a reprint one time at some point. Comic book fans, their memories are interesting sometimes. Something happens one time, every time. That's how it is.
Very interesting.
It is. I don't know. We were talking before about how I feel like DC themselves don't do a lot of promotion. Maybe that's what it boiled down to. The people weren't seeing from DC with their house ads. There's a lot of house ads. I guess there's only house ads in DC Comics right now. And there could have been a little bit more promo for this kind of once in a lifetime like thing.
That's very interesting. And the sense that I've gotten from social media is that people were dialed into this, but that's clearly not necessarily representative of the general comics buying audience. I mean, especially my Digging for Kryptonite pod Twitter account. I mean, that's most of the accounts I'm following are the Superman fan pages, Superman creators. So it's a community that's really keyed into all this stuff. But yeah, among the more general fan base, that's disappointing. I guess not entirely surprising to hear. On both ends, I suppose. I mean, I know I've told the story before, but it's one of my all-time favorites from my time working at the shop. But I remember we were promoting one of our sales, and there was a customer in the store, and I was walking around plastering the walls with signs advertising this upcoming sale. And this guy was like right behind me. We were talking, we were conversing. He was there. How could he not have seen me putting up all these signs? He gets up to the counter and he asks Steve Odo, he goes, "Hey, you're having any sales anytime soon?" Steve and I thought he was joking. We laughed. Surely he's seen all of these signs.
The answer was, well, we were, as Steve instructs you to remove all signs. Still canceled.
But that I don't know, that was an important life lesson, I think, in that experience and recognizing when you think people, look, you and I weren't even on the same page with the delivery of this book, but even with something like that, you just never know. And then I'll also share, in my day job here, one of my varied roles at my job is I am a faculty advisor to a certain contingent of our students. And, it's like I'm, at least in part, responsible for conveying course registration information in some way, shape, or form. And, there are a lot of times where I get questions about stuff that we've already, either myself or elsewhere through the school, we've communicated to the students in various ways. And, the questions still kind of come back. There's still some confusion. So you just, you don't know. And I guess however many messages are going out or however clear it seems like they are, you can't take it for, you can't take it for granted.
I mean, it's one of those things where, again, I've always said that, not always, but recently people are absolutely bombarded with data. If you're awake at 3 a.m., you open your emails and you scan through, I guess, the store email from last week. Do you remember what you saw? I don't know. Here's an interesting one for you, though. Some customers I would ask, did you get the original Death of Superman, number 75? They'll say, no, I didn't. And it'll occur to me, were you anywhere in 1992? Were you literally anywhere? And some people say, no, wasn't born yet, or I was 1 year old when this book came out. So it's like, what does this book mean to someone that was not alive, was not buying comics at this moment that you and I remember where we were when we could, or in my case, couldn't get a copy of Superman number 75. But what is this item to people that just weren't around for it? What is this item? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. For those of us who lived through it and we've talked about it, I think so much of what's wrapped up in our feelings towards the entire event is what we were experiencing when it came out and having that moment with it. And so, I don't know. It's not that you can't have that if you came to it later, but it's not quite the same. I don't know that it would necessarily hold the same weight. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of instances for people where it does, but yeah, I mean, probably not to the same, maybe not with the same level of intensity,
So, and not to hang out too long with Death of Superman Anniversary, at that time, I'm trying to figure out how did I know when this book was coming out. I don't know if I knew what new releases were, or maybe I had figured out. I definitely knew because I came to this location, the Acme Comics Lawndale location, during lunch when I was like a junior or something, when you could drive off campus. I don't know if you can still do that or not. But I knew to come here to look for Superman 75, which, of course, I asked for it, which required me to speak. And I was asked, are you on the list? What list? So the answer is no. No copy for me to this day. But I wonder, how did I know to go to the store and ask for this particular book? And I think to myself, I wonder, did you ever watch QVC, like the Home Shopping Network thing?
Mm-hmm.
You remember they would have comic book programs from time to time. And the guy, I don't remember his name. I feel like it was Steve. But he knew just enough about comics that he knew the right questions to ask. He knew how to present things, like the Nightfall issue where Bruce Wayne's back is broken by Bane. I remember him reading from the comic, broken and done. I think maybe it was that led to my knowing, okay, I got to go find this book as opposed to just wandering into this book, because I knew it was a thing. But how would I have known? I don't think Wizard Magazine, if it existed at that time, I don't think I was getting it at that time.
I know we talked about this years ago, the first time that I had you on the show, but I am drawing a blank right now. Where were you getting your comics at this point, and how long had you been reading?
I think that I was still just getting comics off of, whatever spinner racks I could. I definitely didn't know when new releases happened. I didn't know that. I didn't know how it worked. But do you know how you knew to go and look for a copy of Superman 75? How did you know?
Jermaine, I didn't go and look for it. It found me.
Yes. Okay. I'm remembering that.
I stumbled upon it. We were, so every time I tell the story, I'm like, I'm not going to keep telling the story, but you open the door for it real quick. No, I was with my parents at our local mall, and there was a Heroes World location there, and we just walked past it. And I stopped in front of it, and I had a Superman action figures. Like, I knew who the character was. And there was that window display that I've talked about a million times of the action figure in the little box, like a coffin. And that was it. But it was just kind of like stumbling upon the store. I mean, I could double check with my parents. I mean, maybe they said, they probably said, like, oh, Anthony, do you want to look at this store? Or we might have really just been walking by. I was 5, so I don't know. I mean, I remember, again, being in front of it. I don't remember exactly the lead up to it, but it definitely was not, it wasn't, I certainly had no idea this thing was out there. And it definitely wasn't my parents being like, oh, we heard Superman died, let's go check it out. It wasn't that.
That's so interesting.
It's destiny.
Had you kept walking, had you picked out a, X-Men comic, are we here right now? I don't know. Probably
not. No, I think about that a lot. So yeah, it's, it is very interesting. And this actually ties into one of our patron questions. So we got a couple of questions from Brian.
Oh, great.
And this, we did address this last time when you talked about how virtually all of the DC books and the solicitations regularly are Batman related in some way, shape, or form. So we touched on this, but I think this kind of further teases out the issue here. So this is the question from Brian. He says, the January 2023 solicitations were released, and there is no solo title available featuring Superman. Action Comics is switching to an anthology book with 3 stories by different creative teams. They'll be focusing on the family. Clark Kent will have no solo book for the first time in my lifetime, Brian says. How do you both feel about that? With Henry Cavill coming back as Superman, with the 30th anniversary of the death of Superman getting some attention and anticipation, what is going on with DC, and Superman. Now, I know coming out of New York Comic Con, there will be an ongoing solo Superman title written by Joshua Williamson. And I believe Tom Taylor is moving over to a John Kent, like a 6-issue John Kent miniseries called Adventures of Superman. And then Action Comics will be this anthology, family-centric book. So we will be getting one, but I guess for the small window of time, you don't have a solo Superman book. But yeah, again, as much as we touched on this last time, what was your reaction to that, or any further thoughts just on the state of DC, specifically with its most iconic character?
Well, I mentioned this to someone recently, not just Superman specific, which we will get into that. Right now, your ongoing superhero monthly titles are Action Comics, Superman, Son of Kal-El, Flash, Wonder Woman. Meaning there's no Green Lantern monthly series. Do you know what no one has asked? Where's the Green Lantern series? I think that's not good. Because if DC is building up to some sort of the return of the DC universe, Green Lantern, Teen Titans, this, they're all back. I'm a little concerned that people are okay with their absence or haven't noticed their absence, meaning that if these concepts boldly return, I wonder if the audience has gotten used to them not being there. I'm a little concerned about that. Like I said, no one has said, hey, I haven't gotten Green Lantern in a while. What's going on with that? Not a soul.
That is potentially quite telling. Very interesting to hear that. I'll just say this. I think as far as the people directly working on these characters, I do have faith. I actually know the editor of the Superman line, Paul Kaminsky. He used to be a customer at Alternate Realities when I was in California a few years ago. He invited me to the DC offices. I know he loves that's the thing. I know there's a lot of love and care there. Similarly with these creators, with Philip Kennedy Johnson and Tom Taylor, now Josh Williamson. I mean, I think these books are being made with love for the character. That's my sense, at least. How much faith do I have in the larger corporate structure behind them? Not a lot. Not a lot. So I'm grateful for whatever they're able to do. But as far as this this is a much larger conversation, not just about the comics, but also now the film and television division, all of that. So there's a lot going on there and a lot of moving pieces right now. But what you bring up really is an interesting point. And see, this is the one downside though of recording these monthly, because I forget if I said this last time. but I know you don't remember either, so it'll be fresh. Maybe the audience forgot too, so it'll be fresh. But have you experienced from your customers, from the Acme community, any fatigue, any sense of oversaturation with all these Bat books? Because I scroll through the solicitations. I talk with fellow Alternate Realities alum Rich Roney on weekends, and we're like, can you believe it's so many Batman books? They're oversaturated the market. How much demand could there be for Batman? But I don't know, boots on the ground. Do people seem tired of it, or it's like, no, bring on all the Batman?
No, people have officially noticed. That there is so much Batman content. And I'm sure you'll remember this because it's been this way through my whole retail career. Batman is a book that people get, and Detective Comics could have something amazing going on in there. Wolverine could be in Detective Comics on a monthly basis, and people are not going to get Detective Comics. You think of, I want to say at the same time that Hush was going on, I think that there was a Ed Brubaker storyline in Detective with Tim Sale covers, and it went completely unnoticed. I feel like there's not even been a graphic novel of that story. It's just how it's always been. So if that is the case, and yes, there's always room for some type of special project, always. But I think there's just been so much content that some of it I question its existence. Others, it is good, but it's getting squeezed out. It's absolutely getting squeezed out because there's so much pressure on the Batman fan to do all of the lifting of a brand, of a comic book brand. I can't imagine a world where most of Marvel's output was Spider-Man content to the expense of, there's no Iron Man title right now, but here's another Spider-Man miniseries. That's just, I can't imagine that. They talk about when did the DC implosion happen? Was that the early 70s where they just really had to retract all these projects? There were ongoing series that the final issues never came out. It's full retraction. Did that happen and we didn't notice?
Hmm.
Did that happen? Are we living through some type of unlabeled scenario and we didn't notice that's what it was?
Interesting. Very
It is.
interesting.
I think about that all the time. What are we living through right now? We're living through something. What is it?
I mean, maybe it's one of those things only with a little time and distance will we be able to get some perspective on it. I guess the last thought I have on this, and not to turn this into a digging for kryptonite episode, but certainly as a Superman fan, it can be frustrating to see. I mean, at least we have action. At least we have again, like you said, there's no Green Lantern book. So at least there's still Superman content coming out, but not as much as there once was. I've been spending a lot of time revisiting the Triangle era. We had 5 ongoing Superman titles.
5 ongoing series, which is basically Superman was a weekly character. You got to each week have something going on in continuity with your character. You had Elseworlds miniseries. You had a lot of content. And I don't know if you felt overwhelmed or just like, cool, there's Superman stuff around.
That's a good question. I don't know that I have a good answer for it. I definitely didn't feel overwhelmed, but I do wonder if I don't know how excited I necessarily was all the time because it was just sort of always there. I think you can get a little bit complacent. And that actually leads me to the point I was going to make where, yes, do I wish that there was more Superman content coming out? Sure. Of course I do. But at the same time, would I want the situation to be reversed right now where it was just this glut of Superman titles and, maybe 1 or 2 Batman books? I don't know, because there's something about the underdog. I don't know where it's just sort of like, as a Superman fan, it's like you want more. You feel like the character's not getting his due, but I don't know if we had so much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it just it'd be fun and I would enjoy it. But there's something that's, it's a little bit more rare and more unique when we do get something like that. But so I don't know. I think the best answer is we just need some balance, but we don't have that right now.
It's not just that, but you think about, I've always said the 1990s was very good to DC Comics because they were just trying stuff. Death of Superman. Bruce Wayne is down for the count. Have a different Batman. What's he going to do next? Right now, it seems like things are very safe and very complacent. Why not have a Teen Titans versus the Legion of Superheroes miniseries? That way the characters and the concepts are on the shelf. Get Deathstroke and Orange Lantern. Like, do something. Do something. I feel like right now things are just sort of on a set it and forget it is what I feel is going on. Whereas right now I feel like they should really get experimental. Just throw some concepts out there. Do some things.
I'm with you. No, I don't disagree. Before we take a commercial break, one more question, especially this notion of your customers not knowing what that 30th anniversary special was, thinking it was a reprint. So, I mean, regardless of how effective or how prevalent the messaging was, DC did promote this, at least to some extent. I read the press release. It explained what it was. The creators have been out there doing interviews about it. Certainly I know you've been tweeting, you talked about it in the newsletter. What level of frustration do you feel when customers come in and still don't know? And what else can you do? I mean, at that point, does it really just come down to the good old fashioned classic Lord Retail hand selling? Like, is this one of those instances where the best and only thing you can do at a certain point is each Superman fan who comes in be like, hey, did you know that this is all new content?
Oh, I'm definitely going to take them on ship to ship. I'm not going to, it's going to be the hand sell for sure, because I get it. People are bombarded with stuff. There's always some limited edition Blu-ray release or some sort of t-shirt I only have 24 hours to make a decision on. I miss stuff all the time. So I'm kind of understanding of, oh, I did know that was coming out. I just forgot. Is it now already? I think that's part of it too. I think some people do not realize that we have a month and some change left in this year. I think people do not know that. That's part of it. They say, oh, I thought this was coming later. Well, later is now. Later was last week. But yeah, I will absolutely, at that point of contact with that person right in front of me, I will definitely talk up wherever the item is. And we also ordered it. I feel like a lifetime supply, because I felt like that wasn't a Wednesday item so much as a Saturday. I haven't been in a comic book store in 10 years, or I haven't been in a comic book store in 25 years. And they see that item, and they'll say, oh, what is this? Or they'll look at the sealed black bag. They'll say, oh, I have one of those. And I'll say, no, you don't. Here's what it is. So it's intended to be, in my opinion, an evergreen novelty item is what the plan was on that one.
You know, we've had a lot of fun talking about how when I was filming the documentary, I asked you how many copies of Action 1000 you ordered. And
Please don't do this.
I was going to save it for the very end. I won't ask it all. You ordered enough that it'll always be in stock at Acme Comics. So
certain covers, yes.
Yeah.
Certain covers.
Yes.
We did at least, I believe, we did at least 100 copies because we did have one of those 1 in 100 foil variants that did find a home. So it was at least 100 copies across the various covers. It's also a large book, so the stack is a little deceptive about exactly how tall it is.
Gotcha. Well, listen, before we take a commercial break, audience, while this is the end of our Lord Retail trilogy, this episode, this is not the end of my comic shop history, but as I have been teasing in these episodes, the end is coming. Next year in 2023, the My Comic Shop History podcast will sign off for good. I know we've had various finales here and there over the years. This is the final run of episodes coming in 2023, a very special quarterly farewell event. So one episode, I'm sure there'll be big episodes, one episode per season of the year in which I will reunite with the innermost circle from alternate realities, our Bill Mayos, our Rich Ronis, and of course, our Steve Odos, as we get together one more time and catch up and say a fond farewell to the alternate realities legend and this podcast. So it's called For All Seasons, 4 quarterly episodes starting in winter 2023, and it will be the farewell event for My Comic Shop History. So make sure that as we head into the new year that you keep tuning in, follow along on social media as well. I'll be posting announcements about when the episodes are going to start to drop. It's a very bittersweet affair, but I feel like it's time, and I'm excited to sort of bring this in strong and have a powerful finish to this podcast. So that's what's coming up. You ready, Jermaine?
Ready as I'm going to be.
All right. So let's take a quick commercial break, and then we will continue this once and future Lord Retail trilogy finale. We'll be right back. Acme Comics is a locally owned and operated full-service comic book store in Greensboro, North Carolina for people of all ages and walks of life. Since 1983, this 9-time Eisner Award nominee uses their collective knowledge and resources to connect you with the best material available. They pride themselves on their significant contemporary and vintage back issue selection. Mail order subscriptions to new releases are available, and all offerings are available to anyone, anywhere via mail order. Follow Acme on social media and eBay, listen to the Acme Cast on all podcast services, and visit acmecomics.com for much more. Film lovers and filmmakers should check out this family of film festivals: Brightside Tavern in Jersey City, Hang On to Your Shorts in Asbury Park, Point Lookout on Long Island, and In the Cut in Bloomfield, New Jersey. I was fortunate enough to have my work shown at these festivals, and I found them to be very enjoyable and well-run events. Submission information for filmmakers, as well as details about the festivals generally, can be found at filmfreeway.com. Follow the festivals on social media for news and updates about events, discounts, tickets, and more. Also, be sure to listen to the Hang On to Your Shorts and Cullen on Film podcasts, available via a shared universe network. Fat Moose Comics is New Jersey's best and oldest comic book store. Established in 1982 and currently under new ownership, Moose sells a wide selection of new and old comics from every publisher, action figures, graphic novels, posters, statues, and more. If you're looking for something and they don't have it, they can probably get it for you. They know a guy. Visit Fat Moose in Whippany the next time you're in the Garden State, and be sure to reach out via the Fat Moose Comics Facebook page. Flat Squirrel Productions is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP, that's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions, to save 10% on your order, and it helps support the show. Thank you. Aw Yeah Comics celebrates and promotes everything that is wonderful about comics, toys, artwork, and the joy they bring to people. Visit them in person at one of their 3 locations, Harrison, New York, which happens to be my local comic shop, Skokie, Illinois, or Muncie, Indiana. If you have children and have been looking for a family-friendly store, look no further. Join Aw Yeah for exciting events, including creator signings, how-tos, and more. Visit awyeahcomics.com and follow Aw Yeah on social media for more. Their name says exactly how they feel about it. Aw yeah. And we're back. Okay, we still have a lot of ground to cover, my friend. I want to, we've been teasing about doing the Secret Life of Lord Retail episode. Like, what does he do when he's not at the store? Maybe this will be a short segment. I want to, and to whatever extent, if at all, you want to address this, but we talked last time about how, just like Rich Roney and the alternate realities community, for you and Acme, you've been here for so many years. You've seen so many people come through, and you've seen how their lives have changed. And we talked about how, like with Rich Roney, like you've been this constant for a lot of people, but it sort of begs the question of, and I'm paraphrasing our last conversation, but is there a risk of stagnation perhaps, or just sort of some sort of mixed feeling about seeing others sort of embark on these new stages of life, while you have remained this constant? And I guess the question I have is, less so on the career side, because I have more questions about that later, but just on the personal side, to whatever extent, if at all, you want to address this, in terms of a relationship, whether it's a marriage or not, like children, is that something that you foresee on your horizon? Is it something that you want? Is it something that you're open to? Is it something that you don't see in the future for you? What do you foresee for yourself?
What do I foresee for myself? I foresee pricing this long box of comics and having 14 more to get put out for sale. I definitely foresee that. Magic 8 Ball. Ask again later. I don't know. I ask myself sometimes, if I did have those things, would I have been unable to do this thing? Meaning, would I now be owner of the store? Which somebody asked me yesterday, hey, do you own the store? And I once again hesitated. Man, that's just weird. Because again, you go so long giving one answer, and it's not a question I get all the time. So when the person asked, nanosecond, it's like, oh, yes, I do. Yes, I am. Would I have been able to get to this point if I had those other things? I don't know. Would I even be good at those things? I have no idea. I'm leaning towards probably not good at those things. I don't know. Because I think about, okay, I made it. I'm here. Is this the start of some type of generational wealth? Is that what this is? Something to pass on, something to build off of? Currently, it's not. Currently, it's just me. I mean, not literally just me. That's not what I'm saying. But as far as, okay, I made it. What am I doing here? I don't know. You know how sometimes people have kids and the kid has no interest in their thing. Like, kid loves cars, doesn't love comic books at all. Cars is the thing. So there's always that. But I just don't know. I don't foresee anything being different from how it is now. So I think I need to use the power of this business to do as much as I can to make things better for someone else. Be it the people that work here, people that are part of this thing, be it getting more graphic novels in some underserved media center somewhere, be it sponsoring some local artist that's really good that maybe has never been to a convention before. I don't know. I feel like that's the thing I got to do rather than think about other stuff that may or may not be happening. These are things that I can do, and I got to get doing those things. I don't know if that answered the question at all, or I completely deflected it to where you're not sure if I answered it or not.
No, I mean, I think you did to the extent that you could. And here's the thing. Oh, first, let me say that as your friend and as general supporter, I hope that you achieve and attain whatever it is you want, whatever that might be. And that's why I phrased the question the way I did, because, the answer might, again, the sort of family life that I propose, not everybody seeks that, right? So if you might say, no, that's not the path for me. So I don't want to present this as like, hey, don't you want to get married and have a kid? That might not be, your path.
I mean, I look up to a lot of people that I see, be it customers that I deal with. Greg, who's generous donation I'm literally utilizing right now via podcast equipment. LC. I look at people like Bendis, the Fractions, just the way they are with their family, being super present, being super attentive, even though they've got stuff going on. They've got places to be, they've got stuff going on, but they are very attentive to their families, trying to provide the best possible experience for their kids. I see you doing the same thing. So, I genuinely and deeply respect that more than say like, oh, this business tycoon is, just bought another building or something like that. That means nothing to me. What does mean something to me is when I see people being present, providing as good of a experience with memories as possible with their kids. That means a lot to me. That sort of thing goes a long way.
No, I can appreciate that. And I appreciate the kind words. And it's funny because, my wife and I, like our first couple of years of marriage, I mean, it's not like we were not 100% set that we would definitely have children. We weren't sure. We were open to it, but we didn't know. And, then we did ultimately make that decision. And it's, he's been the best thing ever for both of us. But, again, it's everyone has their own path. I will say, just as we were saying about, you don't know if you would have been able to do all of this, with the family, at least as far as, actually, I mean, in terms of both my day job and the podcasting, I have accomplished more or generated more in these past few years since we've had our son than I ever have before. It's this weird thing where everything like locks into place. And you do what you need to do. What's most important, and you sort it all out. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but a couple of other things though. When you talk about, sometimes people have kids and they have no interest in what their parents do. I mean, Steve Odo is a perfect example of that. His son, who recently got married, and Steve and I will talk about that when he's on the show next year. But I think for Steve, one of the reasons Steve ultimately sold the collection that he had amassed, and this is going back now well over a decade that he sold everything, but one of the reasons he sold was that his son had no interest in it. And, I think I'm sure he wished that his son did, right? And that he could pass this on, this legacy, that he had built. So, that definitely can happen. And then, as you know, I've encountered a lot of comic shop owners, and it's such a mix, right? Sometimes you do have just the solo operator, who doesn't have a family, and the store is everything they do. But then you see other instances of husband and wife teams or whole families who kind of get in on it. So it's, I guess
definitely have seen that.
Every kind of configuration that you can think of is out there.
Yeah. And I also know that the store, retail business in general, small business, micro business can just take a lot. It can take a lot. It can keep you away from your home for a number of hours, because there'll always be something else to do. There will always be something else to do. But I've tried to, in the last several years, tried to adopt the notion that work's going to be there. As long as I'm here, there's always going to be one more thing to do the next day. So I have to kind of manage. I think it's time for me to leave for now. Or you know what? I'm leaving when everybody else does. Because work's going to be there. It's always going to be there. And I think figuring that out, and maybe it came too late, but again, everything happens, for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I'm where I am in life for some sort of reason, yet to be determined, ongoing. But work is always going to be there. There was a guy in today, he was talking about how he'll regularly draw characters on napkins for his kids. That's just what he does with them. And even though he may have to fly out for work the next day, he's like, all right, I got to pack. I got to do this. I got to send this email off. I got to draw the napkins, and I told him that's really cool that you do that, that you meet their expectation of this thing that, doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's something they're always going to remember. Yeah, these napkins. You remember you used to draw on the napkin, leave it for us? They would remember that, I think.
I think it's exactly that. I think it is those little things that,
always the little things. It always was the little things.
Yeah, that's what stands out, and that's what stands the test of time. That's a very powerful sentiment, and I don't mean to undermine that, but hypothetically, like, let's say in the near future you decided, hey, I think I do, marriage, family. I think maybe that's in the cards for me, and you were looking to meet someone. How would you go about it? Would it be a dating app? Would it be, I don't know, someone maybe you already know who's a friend? Would it be asking someone to set you up? Would it be a matchmaker? Would it be going out to the Greensboro bars? Like, how would you even approach it if you got into that zone of like, okay, this is something that I think I want to pursue, having this type of home life?
I've done all the above. I've done all the above to varying results, which lead me to here where I'm aggressively unattached. I'm aggressively unattached. But I don't know. I do have this is absurd. I do have a dating profile that's out there. Been out there for a number of years, multiple years. And the thing I don't mention is and I kind of like comic books too. Maybe I should change that. Maybe I should be very clear about, yes, I know comic books very well. I know Star Trek pretty well. Like, I know all this stuff. Maybe that's the thing that, and I'm not doing that because I'm necessarily trying to hide anything, but that falls under me not being good at talking about myself in a personal way. If it was a profile for the store, I'm talking about all the stuff and all the accolades and this, that, and the other. But if it's just me, I'm not good at that. Because I showed it to someone and they said, this description that you gave for yourself, this is not who you are. What is this?
All right. This is fascinating to me because
here we go.
To not mention comics is excising one of the most defining aspects of your interest and your career. So now though, I'm so fascinated by this because
what sort of hollow presentation is this? Now you're getting to the raw, like, who is this person underneath the hat? Who is this? Nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
Well, that's sort of my question. Well, no, I'm like, so what is on that profile?
I'll show it to you and you'll just say, what is this? Who is this? I don't know if I want to know this person. Who is this?
I mean, is there, again, you don't have to read it to us on the air, but I mean, just like generally speaking, because look, when we talk about the secret life, quote unquote, of Lord Retail, some of the stuff that I wanted to ask you about is what other stuff are you into? Do you have any non-comics hobbies? What kind of movies do you like? I know you love checking out the local restaurants from the plate of Lord Retail and that hashtag and all that stuff. So I did kind of want to get into your I guess just personal and non-comics interests. So I feel like this is a natural segue here. So in that profile, if you're not mentioning that you've had this decades-long affiliation with the comic shop that you now own and that you've been a lifelong fan and all that, what is there? What do you mention in that profile?
I don't know. It's Anthony, it's weird out there. Okay. It's real weird out there. Some of the profiles I look at, they want you to have a job or not currently be in jail or, have most of your teeth. Not to be like, not to be like that because, dental stuff is expensive. I know that it is. But, there's just a lot of weird minimums that people are asking for. It's just weird right now.
So you don't do you say like I'm in retail, or do you just not say anything? You don't put anything for a job or?
I don't think I even mentioned that part. Just that, I'm fairly stabilized in life.
Is that the little blurb? Is that the little blurb under your picture? Fairly stabilized.
I mean, I've got a vehicle. I own a home, a mansion, and a yacht. But Man, I was not prepared to talk about this one. But hey, you get the real me. You were able to somehow coax out the real me, and now here I am, and you're like, what is this? How do I put it back? How do I put it back? I'm not a foodie. I'm not, but I like good food. I like good food, especially when I travel, and I like to promote places that I've found. I was showing someone around town recently, and we've eaten at a lot of, local places. And they said, how does Applebee's stay open when there's places like all of these things that I've seen this week available? I was like, I don't know. Even I'm still discovering new places all the time. Trying to get a little more proficient with Indian food. I don't know it very well. And I've been sampling some of what is available here in town. It's been amazing. So I'm still discovering new stuff. And if I do find something good, definitely want other people to know where it is, because every business needs one more person to, do business with them on a weekly basis, because that's really what it is. One person at a time, even for our business, just picking up one new person that, spends $10 a week or $15 a week. That's a thing. That's forward motion.
Yes. No, that's a wonderful thing. And speaking of travel, so I guess, what is the extent of your travel? Like my wife is very well traveled. I've never been to Europe. I mean, I've left the United States, like islands and stuff, but I've never been to Europe. Have you? Are there places that are on your bucket list that you want to visit?
I don't even have a passport. I don't even have a passport. So maybe they'll change someday. I don't know. When I've watched Anthony Bourdain's travel shows, if I see something like amazing, I keep a list of, if I'm ever in this place, these are the places to go. Somebody Feed Phil. I don't know if you watch that or anybody listening watches it. It's so good. It's Phil Rosenthal from a show I never watched.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah. I never saw a single episode of it, but he's the creator of that show. He's a super nice guy. He travels around and he's so positive and upbeat, and he tries different foods from places. And he's just so like genuine, like this tastes good. And this light comes onto his face where he's just eating something really good. And I'll take a note of where he was, and I'll say, okay, if I'm ever in Austin, Texas, these are the places I'm going to. If I'm ever in New York City, these are the places I'm going to. Not the touristy places, but places like that. I keep a list just in case I ever travel. On the one hand, I like to travel. On the other hand, I don't feel like going anywhere because I'm tired. So, but every now and then I get motivated that, yeah, I'm going to go to this place. Right now, there's a pretty significant trip that my movie friends or just immediate group of friends are kind of talking about. We're collectively Twin Peaks fans of that TV show. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. I do recommend it. I think you could appreciate it. It's a journey. It's an experience, Twin Peaks. I remember it coming on, I think I was in middle school, and I would watch the intro and then change the channel to something else. I did that a lot as a kid. I'd watch the intro, then watch something else. But there's a chance to visit some of the locations in the Pacific Northwest where things were shot. Exterior shots, interior shots, and there's a whole tour system of that. I'm thinking about it. Well, I've never been. I've been to the West Coast under my own power, at my own pace. I've driven there twice to San Diego, but Pacific Northwest, never been there, never breathed that air, never seen those sights. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure what I'll do.
Cool. I mean, how often do you travel? And when you do, how often is it comics related? Like you're going to a convention or something like that?
Always.
Oh yeah.
Always. I went to Nashville, Tennessee because BotCon, the Transformers convention, returned after a long absence. Is why I was there in Nashville. So the majority of my travel, do you count it as a vacation if there's a Comic-Con attached to it? When this is what you do for work, is that a vacation or is it just an aspect, a branch of work? Do I flip a switch and I'm in work mode if I'm like, okay, this customer asked me for this, I got to buy it, or I need to be shopping for this person. I do consistently flip that switch where I'm in work mode.
I mean, my 2 cents, I would say you define it however you like. I think if you're, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying if you're looking for something for someone, but I would sort of, if I were drawing some not arbitrary, but some hypothetical line of demarcation here. I mean, I don't know. It's like if you're going as a vendor, for example, then I would say that's a work trip. But if you're going really as a fan, especially for Transformers, and even if you happen to be looking for something for someone, I don't know. I would still, because I mean, traveling for a convention for something you enjoy, I mean, that's a vacation, or it can be.
It can be. But have I just done something not attached to anything comics or collectibles? I don't know if I have in a very long time. Maybe I got to fix that.
Do you have, like I said, one of the things I wanted to ask you, any non-comics, comics adjacent hobby? I mean, is there anything else that any other, well, like I know your first job, because we talked about this in the documentary interview that, before Acme, you worked as a mechanic, right? Do you have an interest in cars?
I don't believe that I do, but watching something like Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Have you ever seen that show before?
Yeah.
It's so good, because I used to love comedy a lot as a kid. I kind of forgot that, the early Comedy Channel where they'd show clips of stand up, or I think HBO would have like specials even back in the 1990s. Just really love comedy. And that show will talk to a comedian about stuff, but they'll also, Seinfeld's a car guy, and he'll talk in detail about some car that maybe I've never even heard of before. And I guess there is some minute area of the brain where I'm like, ooh, what's that?
All right. I'm just building out this dating profile in my head of, teeth, homeowner, has a vehicle, used to like comedy.
Yeah, used to be funny.
Remembers that he used to like comedy, and has seen a lot of television show intros.
I don't know. Like I said, it's just rough out there. I used to take it real personal that, there'd be zero interest, zero responses. Now I don't really take it personal. It's just, it's tough out there. There's a lot of, probably a lot of nonsense coming at people. So I don't take it personal.
Right.
At all.
I'll leave you alone on the dating profile. Again, I still didn't really get, I really would love more of an answer about what is actually there. If you're not mentioning the comics, if it's just,
I'll show you. I'll send you a screenshot, and you'll say, "What is this, man? What is this?"
But I will say, on a serious note, I do. If you ever delve more into the dating app world, and I never did. I mean, they existed when I was still single, but not to the extent that they do now. And I mean,
it's real bad. Let me reiterate, it's real bad out there.
So I am not saying any of this from firsthand experience with the apps. However, one of the things that was so special when my wife and I first became friends and then started dating was a shared interest, like our shared interests and bonding over that. And so I think putting it out there that comics are a part of your life. And that's the thing with you, and it's not like, oh, it's like he's kind of into comics. It's like, it's a huge part of who you are. And if that allows you to connect with someone else out there who shares that to any extent, that's a beautiful thing. And it's a wonderful foundation to build from.
Because I am seeing in certain profiles, the person will come out and say, love Star Trek, love comic books, look at my Batman tattoo. Like I'll see that. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to be more forthcoming with exactly what's going on here. What have I got to lose, right?
Although, listen, the way you deflect questions, I could see you dating someone for like a few months and still never bring up comics. I'd be like, oh, what do you do? And you some vague answer about a store.
Like, nothing right now. Talking to you right now. I can't say that's never happened. I can't say it's never happened before. Symptom of a much larger problem. Tip of the iceberg.
All right, listen, I'll leave you alone on that. But I do want to ask you about just the career-wise, the future of the Lord Retail brand and Acme Comics. And I guess I'm just curious, what if any end game, not even end game, but next hurdle to clear, next goal, do you see? Because for example, like on the Lord Retail front, is it some sort of methodology that you develop and sell to other stores? Like, this is how you can lay out your shop. This is how you can go about your pull list system. Is it something like that, where it's some sort of Lord Retail methodology that's being branded and sold and popping up in shops across the country? Is it more Acme locations in Greensboro, really establishing an even stronger foothold in the area? Is it franchising it out and having Acmes in other parts of the country? Like, what, if any of those, might be in the future, do you think?
The first thing that you said is what I really want to do. You know, build some sort of network of communication, or literally going to places, maybe spending a week with a retailer to kind of see what's going on, find out what they feel their issues are, and coming with solutions together. Because a lot of the successes that we have experienced here are not universal to all regions. You know, if you're a store that your clientele appreciates variant covers and CGC graded 9.8, fill in the blank, doesn't matter what's in the case, it's 9.8, then a lot of my science may not be applicable. Or I could perhaps figure out something else in order to cultivate an audience that isn't there, or that is being underserved. I don't know. But a part of me would kind of love to do that for the comics industry. There's so much more to, there's more to comics retail than what Marvel and DC put out this week. You know, I tell stores sometimes that are experiencing frustration with the publishers, the distributors. Completely understand it. I'm experiencing it. I live it day to day. But there's also, what do you already have in your store and how can you utilize it? What can you do with it? What's going on in your community that you could perhaps plug into to remind people that reading can be part of your entertainment diet? You know, not just TV and novels, et cetera, that perhaps a graphic novel could be part of your entertainment diet. What's going on you can do despite, you know, what's being done to you by outside forces? Well, what's something you can do? What's something you can do? I don't know. But I think that the answers are within each store. Within each store. You know, so rather than, I don't know about franchising. I don't know. It would all depend on, every industry is looking for the right people right now. Everyone's looking for the best available people. You know, the comic book store's no exception. We've been super lucky that you know, I've been in the presence of outstanding people. I still am, you know, to the point where when I've been, I like to say I don't get burnt out, but maybe I do. Well, I don't think it was burnout so much as just I've had a lot happen in the last 5-6 years that was really difficult. Some of it you know about, some of it you don't know about. I haven't told you yet, but I will. But I don't know if it's quite burnout, or I've just been through some stuff to where I wasn't always at my best. You know, even when I'm at my bare minimum, I can still do stuff. I can still get things done. But I really feel, literally like today, I feel like I've got ideas. I feel like I've got things I want to do. I feel like I can get back out there and do some different things. I feel like I'm going through, like I said earlier, are we living through something and don't know it? I feel like I am living through some, and I usually don't feel this way. I feel like it's a constant. But I feel like there's something new and different going on for Acme Comics right now. And the fact that I'm noticing that, maybe that is the key. Maybe that's the key, that I am detecting that something different's happening here. There's some sort of different era that's about to begin. I think that's the new thing that I usually don't notice. I don't know if that answered your question at all.
No, it does. No, I really think there's something to what you're saying, where, you know, shops, yes, will always be at the mercy in some way, shape, or form to the publishers, to the distributors. But the more that you can do to, to really hone what your store focuses on and how you go about what you do, the more control you can maintain, and probably the more that you can weather when you're dealing with those other challenges. I can certainly see what the value would be in terms of what it is you would be building, or in terms of the advice or whatever this hypothetical product is that we're talking about, the Lord Retail method. Obviously you've dealt with a lot of retailers online, in person, at retailer conferences and stuff. Do you get the sense that there would be enough retailer? And I don't say this, I think it's a wonder. I hope you pursue it. I would love it. And I'd be a big, I'd be in your corner, that. So I don't say this to be a downer at all. But do you think that there would be enough retailers out there who would be willing to listen to someone and also to pay for something like that?
I think that initially it would have to be people that I'm already friends with, that have known me for years, and that would be open to, come by for about a week, see what you can see, and maybe help out, because we're having a hard time here. We're having a real hard time. Now, after several successes, I guess, where a person can say, okay, this something different's happening now based upon our interaction. We're doing better now. Having a number of those situations and testimonials, then people that are entirely unfamiliar with me, maybe there is something, a service that is not free, because the goal is increasing sales at your business. And, I've always said that it's not about, I need to make more money at this business so I can do more things. If sales are up, that means that we can put a fresh coat of paint on something. If sales are up, we can try this new product line. I'm all about infrastructure. I'm really, that's important to me, to put back into the business, to do more with the business. That's my thing. That's just how it is.
Gotcha. Do you think that, because the wheels are turning as you're saying all that, and I mean, what you're saying totally makes sense as far as, starting with people and building out from there, and sort of having that organic growth. Do you think there would be is there any scenario where you would see yourself pursuing, for example, like a leadership position in Comics Pro, the Comics Pro organization, where now you have this audience of retailers out there, as a way to sort of not short circuit this process that we're describing, but, reach more people more quickly? Is that something that would be of any interest?
At this stage, I am wondering if I still need to be a part of Comics Pro. That's something that popped into my head the other day. I don't know. I've had some experiences there where I look at the posts, but I haven't commented in years because of some things that happened to me on that message board, and there wasn't any relief as far as like, hey, can somebody stop this from happening? Wasn't any relief. So, I said, and as comic book people have long memories, that, the leadership has changed over a few times, but that's just how I feel about it. So sometimes what is it they say? If you don't have a seat at the table, make your own table. I think that's kind of where I'm at. Because there's a period of time where I felt very isolated here. You're doing your thing and there's nobody understands you. But then there was a point where I did discover Comics Pro, and that was cool. It's like, oh, okay, I have a place here. I've been doing this longer than a lot of the people that are members, which I forget that sometimes. I've been doing this longer than a lot of other people. Not to say that just doing it for a long time means that you have more fill in the blank than anybody else. That's not really what I mean. But I think that sometimes I get intimidated, by some of the old guard of retailers. And sometimes it comes out that I have been doing it longer than who I thought the old guard was. But I think I need to make my own table. And I guess I've known that for a while. I just haven't done anything about it. Day-to-day retail drains the life out of you. As I look at this long box of unpriced comics that I need to be working on, got to do that. But it's like, well, where's the energy to do this other larger scale thing? Somebody asked me the other day, are you, I don't remember what they phrased it as. I think they basically said, what are you doing different? And I think part of the problem is that I'm not doing enough different. I'm kind of doing the same stuff. And I need to start doing different things, perhaps not at the expense of certain things that I know I'm good at, but I think I need to delegate more stuff. And I have been doing it more than I have in the past. Delegation is a really important skill, not to try to do too much. Everybody in management positions needs to figure out, do I need to do this, or can someone else do this so I can then do this other thing? And I think that's where I'm finally arriving at, where I'm going to have to start doing some things differently.
I hear you. And especially when you said, waiting for a seat at the table to open up versus making your own table. And I like that. And that resonates with me and maybe with our audience too. Because it's something that I've thought about a lot over these past few years, especially with the documentaries and the podcasts and everything. And, when I was making my comic shop country, in a number of my posts, I was like, hashtag Netflix deal, right? And yeah, it would have been amazing if my little movie had made it onto Netflix, right? But we ended up, it's available, right? Like, this is a movie that's out there. It's on Curiosity Stream. There's like the Netflix.
Yeah, how is it available? Remind people right now how they can see this thing if they've never seen it or heard of it before.
So yes, my comic shop country, where I visited 20 comic shops across America, is available on Curiosity Stream, which is a subscription service a la Netflix, but it's just documentaries. Or you can rent or buy it via Amazon or Apple TV/iTunes. And through that, and especially through doing these podcasts, I've really had a lot of talks with myself about like, why are you doing these things and what are you getting out of them? And sort of the conclusion that I've reached, and I'm happy to say, I'm in a very good spot right now in terms of what I'm doing, because, looking at something like my comic shop country, no, did we get onto Netflix? We didn't, but it's like, I made something that I'm really proud of. I think it was a story worth telling, and it's out there and it's available. And I've heard from plenty of people who enjoyed it, where it's like, okay, to whatever extent it works, like it works, at least for some people. And some people have derived some meaning from it, and I derive some meaning from making it. And that's, yeah, was I able to quit my day job? No, but I was still able to do this. And then similarly with the podcasting, it's like, yeah, it would be wonderful if I had hundreds of thousands of subscribers and this was how I made my living. But I so enjoy these conversations on this show, the Superman shows. It's like, I so enjoy these conversations and what I'm reading and watching and researching in preparation of these things. And again, too, it's like, there's at least some contingent of people out there who's getting something out of this too. And so, it's worthwhile. And again, not that this is, a one-to-one match as far as what you're talking about, but again, just this idea of sort of defining success, and setting your goals. And also, I think this is a long-winded way of getting to this ultimate point that I've had floating around, where I think in my head, I always had this hope that like someday I'd get the call. I think that's what it sort of was, especially, doing the documentaries that I did leading up to, and then including my comic shop country, like that at some point I'd get the call from someone who, I don't know who, like, hey kid, like we saw this, like we want you for this project, and it's not that, but that's okay. And I know that when I have the idea for whatever that next documentary will be, I have the means to create it and put it out there in the world. And yeah, if my goal is to make $1 million, then that's probably not the path. But if my goal is to tell a story that I care about, that I think is worth putting out there, it's like, I can do that. So as far as, defining success and all of that. And so I guess like similarly here, I think it's great. Like if you have whatever this service or product or whatever it ends up being, it's like, it would be great if the powers that be, whoever they are, kind of tapped you for something like that. But I think, you getting out there, doing it, building it out yourself, making it whatever you want to be. I think that's a wonderful thing. And I would love to see it.
Yeah. I think that, what you have made is out there forever to be discovered, like next video plays, maybe it's your thing, depending on streaming services, we're not at the final stage of it. Who knows how things are going to change and how material will be discovered, in 6 months, in a year, who knows? But what you have made, it's there forever. But who knows? What if somehow you're the one making some sort of call? Not you waiting for a call, but is you who are making some sort of call to someone else. Maybe you never considered that one. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say what happens, but I definitely appreciate you seeing fit to make me part of the things that you have generated as recently as right now, literally right now. You chose to make me a part of what you're doing. And that means a lot. I feel like sometimes I convince myself I have nothing of value to say, I have nothing of value to add to the industry at large, is what the inner voice tells me sometimes. I'll tweet something about a new release on Tuesday nights the way I normally do. And sometimes Tom Brevoort, the Marvel editor, will retweet it or something. And I'll say to myself, what if I was writing the solicitation for your book? What if I was writing that? What if I was giving some sort of a pull quote on the back of a graphic novel? Does that increase sales for you? I don't know. Maybe I'll never figure that out. I don't know. But I do feel like I'd like to write at least one solicitation, deep in the back of Previews magazine for some random book, just to see if the way that I phrase things could connect to what a retailer likes to hear. I don't know. I feel like the fact that I understand to a degree retailer language and what they respond to, there's something there that a publisher could utilize if they wanted to. Is that what I want to do? Not really, but maybe once or twice it'd be nice to just see for sure.
Like, would you go so far as, whether it's a public tweet or a DM to Tom Brevoort or someone like that, to put something like that out there? Like, hey, if you were ever looking to get a retailer perspective on this, like, I'm available.
That's not his lane. He's going to be Marvel editorial. That'd be more of a David Gabriel thing, which, I do have his contact info. I've had it for years. We've talked about stuff, not recently, because it doesn't occur to me to do that. I've got a number of, I've got access, to a variety of people in the industry that not all stores have. It just doesn't occur to me, let me shoot off an email. Right now I'm bad about starting emails, just never sending them. That's kind of where I'm at in life.
Hey, we talked about this in this first. That was one of the other things I was going to end with, is this, this draft that you've been teasing me with now. And I don't know what it's about, and I don't know if I'll ever see it.
You will. Will. Will we talk about it? We do a recording about it? That remains to be seen. If there's some sort of special report, we're reviving the microphones going live once again. Because I also think that you're not completely done with the comic book store story. There's still something else, some other aspect. There's something else yet to be discovered. I don't know what it is. Clearly, you don't know what it is either, but there's something else.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical. I'm not closed off to the idea, but I'm fairly skeptical, but we'll see. I'm planning on this final run. Oh, hey, speaking of episodes, I meant to say this earlier. I teased this in the last episode. I posted about it on social media. We have a special bonus episode of the Once and Future Lord Retail. It's an interlude, not featuring Jermaine, but featuring former Acme manager Bob Milliken, and it's available on my Patreon page. It's been up for a couple of weeks. You don't have to have a Patreon account. You don't have to be a member of my Patreon page, but go to patreon.com/Anthony Desiato and you can listen. You can download for free. It's the My Comic Shop History interlude featuring Bob Milliken. Jermaine, thank you for putting me in touch with him. I know you had a chance to listen to it. Was it, again, and you were very helpful. You gave me some names and other things to sort of, I say shape the conversation. I mean, it was, I got a few words.
I told you how it was going to be. I told you how it was going to be.
Yeah. No, it was fine. I got a few words in, but at the same part of me, at the time, I was like, I probably could have just said, hey, Bob, like, tell me your story. And I could have just sat back. But it was, I hope that, especially for anyone from the Acme community and especially the veterans, that I hope there was something worthwhile in hearing this perspective from Bob.
So Bob Milliken worked here at the Lawndale location. I'm literally sitting where he would have sat when I was a kid, and I remember seeing him at the downtown location. I don't know if he worked there at the time, but I definitely remember seeing him in that store. And it's one of those cases where I thought he owned the store. I definitely did, because he gave the appearance of someone who owned a comic book store. This is what he looked like. He's always had like a white beard, white hair. He just looked like comic shop owner always. But it was one of those cases, and I vastly appreciate you doing this, because I think Bob is mid-70s right now, and there are people that they have stories, they just do. And one of my biggest fears is that something happens to me and nobody knew like what my deal was. Like, who was that guy? I don't know. The end. But I appreciate you talking with Bob, because I feel like if I had asked questions, I would have gotten different answers, because I've known him so long. Whereas with you, I felt like he might be a little more candid. I don't know, but you definitely got material I'd never heard before. Absolutely. So anybody that goes back a ways with Acme Comics, I think they'll definitely appreciate hearing the content that you got. And I guess my question, having listened, and I kind of know what talking points, I guess, I gave you. I don't know if you edited it so you were asking certain questions, or if he seemed like he kind of was naturally going to a few things that I suggested that you asked. It seemed like he naturally arrived at those places. Is what it seemed like. I don't know. I found that fascinating.
Yeah, I did not edit really at all. So no, that's why I'm saying I really think I could have just said like, hey, what's your history with Acme? And then just kind of reclined in my chair here. Yeah, no, he really was, he came ready to share. So, yeah, I'm glad we're able to do that. And yeah, I hope people will check it out, and I hope they enjoy. If you, not trying to rush you off here, but,
I'm all yours.
We're approaching, it's almost an hour and a half. So I have just a few final, like maybe quicker questions. We have one more patron question, once again from Brian here. This goes back to what we talked about last time as far as your collecting. So Brian says, Jermaine mentioned trying to cull the collection from time to time, but in his collection, which comic or collections or sets does he prize the most? I don't mean monetary value, just which comic or comics have the strongest emotional connection for Jermaine, and why?
There's too many to name that have that. There's too many comics where, oh, this is the story that I read about on the back of this trading card. Or, what I used to do is I got the Marvel handbooks, the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. Not the first run, but the deluxe ones. And I got them as back issues. They weren't new off the shelf. I don't even know if I knew what I was buying, because it looks a certain way. You're like, is this a story? It is not a story. It's going to be, what does the character look like? What comics were they in? And the late Mark Grunwald would write a description of here's all the stuff that happened to this character from moment one to whenever this book came out. And I would study those things. I would read every entry, including especially characters I wasn't interested in. I'd just read them all. And what I would do is I'd try to find the comic books that dealt with the stuff I'd read. That's what propelled me to look for back issues. Is this the one where that happens? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. At any rate, I would read it. So I think that there are so many books that I can look through my collection and say, this is where I bought this book. I bought this book from this place. I think there's a lot of, my memory is spotty just in general. This is how my brain works. But I think that comics would help me to connect to some sort of period of time. Or that, I took this book to that convention and I actually met this person. I've got a lot of signed books. And I don't mind them being personalized. I actually do like that, because it reminds me that I met that person. This is my copy. But yeah, there's so many things. So if you're asking if the house is burning down, what am I grabbing? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe, we'll just restart everything. I don't know. that part I can't answer. But I do have great sentimental value for a good many of my comics. Even talking about New Avengers, when Brian Michael Bendis had done Avengers Disassembled and all the stuff that all the twists and turns going through Secret Invasion and Siege, that was such a cool moment in time to be buying and consuming new release content off the shelf. It's just not the same reading in graphic novel form. Not the same. So that's an era I have sentimental value for as a retailer, where I would tell a person, like, you've got to read this issue. Or a person would buy their stack for the month, and I'll say, make sure you read this issue before that issue. And people remember that type of thing. They remember that type of thing. So
it's crazy
there's
how
a lot
long
of sentimental value.
It's crazy how long ago Disassembled was.
That book is thoroughly out of print, and now that there is so much interest in Scarlet Witch content, there's people that they can't read, they can't have that story for their bookshelf. I can't begin this journey with people. It's so frustrating. That interest in characters is so high, and we've talked about this before because it's something I experience daily. Interest in characters is so high, available content is so low.
It's bonkers. But I will say, I mean, even I have relatively fond memories of Disassembled. I definitely remember it. And what stands out is that I was not, I mean, as you know, I'm not a big Marvel guy. And up until that point, whatever Marvel I had read, it was Spider-Man, Daredevil, some Fantastic Four. I had never read Avengers, but I was a fan of Bendis from Alias and Daredevil and Powers and Ultimate Spider-Man. And so when he came on to Avengers, even though I really didn't have the familiarity with the characters, I mean, I remember sitting on my back porch how long ago was this? About high school, I guess?
I don't know. It seems like a lifetime ago.
But is it 20? I don't know. And anyway, I remember reading it, and it was definitely, even for someone who wasn't really initiated in that corner of the Marvel universe, it was still exciting. So I can definitely see as a Marvel Avengers Bendis fan, like why that would be so cool.
I feel like I was at a panel at a Wizard World Chicago where they, at the Marvel panel, they showed the cover of, I guess it was New Avengers #1 or something, with the characters in silhouette, where it's like, well, that's obviously Wolverine. They're like, Wolverine on the team. That's clearly Spider-Man, but who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Because it really was a new era for the Avengers. It was a new thing. It was a new moment in time that was a moment in time. There's not truly anything else on the shelf right now, in my opinion, that is as exciting as that, as far as like the Marvel side of things, because during that same time period, I think you had what Ed Brubaker was doing, Captain America. I don't remember if Matt Fraction was doing Iron Man, but there was just a lot of exciting things across the brand, as opposed to like, oh, we highlight here or highlight there, but it was like almost line wide. Something is happening. Maybe people knew it at the time, or maybe they figured it out later. Oh, that was a definitive run to read. But I don't know. And I guess I wonder, is it, should I be reaching out to these publishers more frequently with what I feel is sellable and why? I've done it before, but it's been many, many years where I'd say, here are some graphic novels that I know how to sell if you can make these things. And some of them were already going to be made. I'm not saying I got anything made at all, but there was some agreement in the things I said were sellable and why, and what someday was on the shelf. Maybe I need to be doing more of that instead of, sounds like more emails. Just send everybody more emails all the time. Because what do they say? If you don't ask, the answer is definitely no. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, according to Wayne Gretzky, as quoted by Michael Scott in The Office. But it's true.
And I'm not trying to say I have any sort of, whatever, but
it's true.
I feel there's a case to be made for, if there was a graphic novel that had this, and this in it, and it was around this price point, I could sell it / it could sell itself. Maybe I need to speak up more.
Look, worst case, well, worst case they ignore you, or worst case they say, oh, thanks for letting us know. I mean, even if it doesn't yield, at least you put it out there, right? At least you tried, and you might be surprised. I mean, I don't going back to what I was saying before, more on the DC side, but just about the management and the from the corporate organization, perspective. I don't know how much faith I have. Part of me wonders, it's like, well, they might just, I don't know. Part of me would be like, oh, that's a good idea. It's like, because I don't know that there's such a plan where it's like, oh no, we can't deviate. I don't know. You might find that they're more receptive, but you won't know, unless and until you try.
Yeah, I've had Nancy Spears' email address for years. I've never used it. Never done anything with it.
Yeah. As we wind down here, I know we talked about Mark, the former owner of Acme now, and we might have talked about this in the first episode, so I apologize if this is a rehash. But now that you've been you're the owner now, I mean, does Mark, he still shops with you, right?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Okay. What if any feedback has he had on the store under your reign?
Not a lot of feedback. He does listen to a lot of gloom and doom economic news, put it that way. And I'm not unaware of things. I do listen to, if you're a retailer and you don't listen to Marketplace with Kai Rizdal, he really takes a lot of just economic, what does this even mean? He boils it down into something that anyone and everyone can understand. And it's always a fun listen. Well, I mean, sometimes the content isn't fun, but it's always digestible and interesting. This is I believe it's a daily program on NPR or 8 p.m. There's a podcast you can download as well. So I kind of tried to be aware as well, but I don't have quite the gloom and doom attitude, or from time to time, Mark will say, be careful, but the sky's falling. Not to be that flippant about it, but I think that right now he just sort of lets me know what omnibus we didn't order for him. That's kind of where we're at.
Gotcha.
He'll remind me if we missed an omnibus, and if that's if that's the worst of the problems, then we can deal with that.
And how about Austin? I mean, when I was there filming, I did film an interview with him and got you guys in action. And my understanding, right, he is a co-owner at this point as well, correct?
He's a partner in this business as well as Ben. I thought that it was interesting that the two of them were going to make a pitch to me, and I was equally going to make a pitch to them. Because it was something they wanted to do, having been present for so many things and having spearheaded so many things. And I equally felt that, these people, I was never presented with, over the 26 years of being here, I was never presented with here's a share, here's a portion, here's a something. Now, I arrived where I arrived now, but getting there, that was not something that was made available. That's just how it worked out. My feelings on it have no bearing because I am where I am now. But I thought that I should see if they wanted to do that.
Gotcha.
And I think that was absolutely the right call. I think Austin doesn't like to talk about stuff too much. I wish that he would, that you could talk to him for an episode.
I never. So, well, it's funny because I probably have contact info for him on the release form that he filled out for the documentary. I'd have to dig that out, but I don't think he's on Facebook anymore. Anyway, I was going through you. And I never got an answer as far as, I mean, I guess I did get like you say, you never hear that's your answer. I guess he maybe didn't want to participate.
Yeah. And it's like, I guess I'm a private person, but if I'm talking about store stuff or if I'm comfortable around somebody, yeah, I'll totally overshare, as we saw earlier. But he Austin does a lot right now in service of keeping this whole machine on course. He does an awful lot, and I think it's pretty unsung. You know, I'd like to change that of wherever I can, but he does a lot. He does a lot in order to keep this whole thing functioning. You know, the majority of back of house stuff is going to be him. You know, I'm good at front of house. I'm good at that. I can do that all day, regardless of, you know, how I'm feeling about anything. I can definitely do that. That's my autopilot. I can do front of house stuff. But back of house, he is completely stepped up and, you know, manages all of that. He's shop manager. He manages the shop. You know, I'm Lord Retail, whatever that means. People ask, what does it mean? Like, I don't know. But he's definitely shop manager to the point where we're actually going through a hiring process right now, which is fascinating, utterly fascinating. You know, we put out there that there's some spots available. Some things are very specific. Other things are very general as far as positioning. And we actually did pick up someone. This is breaking news. And he had actually offered the person a job. It's like, all right, you're it. You've got it. And afterwards, he kind of said, you know, I hope I wasn't overstepping. I was like, that was your call to make. You know, this was your call. If you felt like this wasn't the right person, if you felt like this was the right person, you did not need to check with me to make sure that that was the right person. Because I 1000%, you know, trust his judgment in that matter.
I love to hear that. Well, please tell him I said hello. I'm very happy for you individually and for you guys collectively.
Yeah. And I want to, I feel like I need to say that things are going pretty well here. And, you know, if you know me, if I'm saying pretty well, then that by other people's standards is really well. So not to say there's not, you know, hiccups and hangups and day to day, like, what is it this time? What is it now? That's just how it is. And it's only going to increase as distribution and publishing and, you know, retail in general just does what it does. But things are going pretty well here. You know, I watch things like, I watch Bar Rescue. That's like a guilty pleasure of mine. I also like Gordon Ramsay. I like shows where somebody goes in and yells at people for doing the wrong stuff. I don't know what that says about me. If someone's just aggressively doing the wrong stuff or being abusive to their customers, I like it when someone's like, what are you doing? Stop it. But, you know, you watch those shows and they deal with these bar owners that, well, I'm about $1.5 million in debt right now and I don't know what to do. Things can be really bad. Things are really bad for some businesses. Things are really bad, but things are going well here. And that speaks to how well people think of this business. You know, I think that a lot of people, they're not coming to the store on Wednesday because, say, Death of Superman came out. They're coming because I go to the store on Wednesday. There's something there. There's people I know there. Let me see what they're talking about. And I think that's important, that we're part of people's routine, because that's just what you do on a Wednesday. You go by the comic book store, you see what's going on. And it's not that way for all businesses. It just isn't. There's a lot of special and rare stuff that goes on here that has to be maintained. You can't just be like, oh, we're going to, you know, rest on our laurels. We're going to coast. It's got to be maintained by doing cool stuff, showing people that you appreciate them, showing people, hey, I know you like Gambit. We got a rare Gambit comic. We saved it for you so you could see it first. You don't have to buy it. But we wanted you to see it first. Just wherever we can. Keep being that cool place for people.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, the once and future Lord Retail, Jermaine Exum. Listen, man, I really enjoyed these 3 episodes. I really enjoyed it. You know, it's one of these things where I think for my comic shop history in particular, the reason I've continued doing it past, you know, especially past the release of the documentary and everything, was really just because I wish we didn't need an excuse to have a conversation like this. But what I found more often than not is, absent a recording where it's like, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk for an hour and a half. Communication still happens in other ways, but it's not to this level. So I'm really glad we got to have this opportunity to talk like this. I hope the audience enjoyed it. I don't know if it is what people expected. If not, I don't know, but hopefully you enjoyed it. You found it entertaining. Maybe you learned something about Jermaine or the business or something like that. But I really had a blast. I thank you for your time. I thank you for sharing this one. I was genuinely laughing. We were talking about the dating profile. I mean, I almost had to stop for a second. That was legit hilarious. But I look forward to, the next time we can chat. I look forward to the next time we could be together in person, whenever that might be. Plug your stuff. I mean, Acme Comics, Lord Retail, social media, all the usual platforms, acmecomics.com. Where in particular do you want to direct folks?
You can find me on Twitter at Lord Retail. Yes, I know weird things are happening at Twitter, but having thought about it, I built an audience there myself. Not necessarily because of the platform, no paid, paid promotions or anything. I've got maybe like 3,200 followers. I don't know, something in that zone. Just doing my thing, talking about comics, and somebody thought that they liked what I had to say and wanted to see what I had to say next. And that's something that I've built. So not saying that I won't do something else somewhere else, because I might. But for now, you can find me on Twitter at Lord Retail. You can find me on Instagram at Lord Jermaine Retail if you want to see me, promoting some sort of local restaurant or something, or maybe you're going to be in Greensboro passing through, you want to know good places to eat. You might see that sort of thing. Most critical thing is acmecomics.com. That's our website. And the store's had a website since, I think, 1996 or so. It's a very old website. And on there, you can find information about new releases, whether you are local or not. You can look at what's coming out, and maybe you'll ask your local store for it. I don't know. You can find our exclusive items from us, like T-shirts, if you want to rep the brand. You can find our eBay page where we put rarities and anomalies in case you want to have something cool. You can order from us that way. But yeah, our website, acmecomics.com, it's pretty valuable, whether you're local or not, in my opinion.
All right, folks. Well, you know what to do. Jermaine, thank you again. Audience, thank you as always. This concludes our 2-volume series, Their Comic Shop History, right? We had Oldest in New Jersey with Fat Moose Comics earlier this year. We had the Once and Future Lord Retail with Jermaine and Acme Now. You and Sean, Acme and Moose, you're the stores. I've said this on this show a lot. I've said it when I've done interviews about the documentary. I enjoyed going to all of the stores that I went to for the podcast and the documentary. Met a lot of great people. A lot of instances where I know if I walked into the store, I'm sure I'd pick up with them. We'd have a great conversation. It's nothing, no bad blood or anything like that. But you two are really the instances where I developed the strongest friendships, through the process of going there for these projects. And on top of that, in both instances, we have stores, with decades long tenures and long-time employees becoming owners. So I've loved doing these, it's only 7 episodes over the course of the year, but I really enjoyed doing them and spending the time with you guys and your shops and your communities. And again, I hope people enjoyed. So this has been Their Comic Shop History. Once again, my comic shop history returns in 2023 with For All Seasons, our quarterly farewell event. In the meantime, I hope you will check out my other podcasts, Digging for Kryptonite, and another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman, if you're a Superman fan. And you know what, even if you're not, you still might find some worthwhile conversations. If you happen to be a Power Rangers fan, we also have Summoning the Zords, a Power Rangers fan journey. And I have a ton of bonus content on my Patreon page. So if you're interested in any of that, I hope you will listen. I hope you will enjoy. And of course, as always, don't be a flat squirrel. Support the show and receive exclusive additional content, including my DC movie rewatch podcast at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. Thank you to all patrons for enabling me to produce this show. Also, be sure to explore the other shows within the Flat Squirrel Podcast Network, which is home to Digging for Kryptonite, another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman, Summoning the Zords, and My Comic Shop History, all hosted by yours truly. Subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts. Visit flatsquirrelproductions.com for more. Thank you all.